Hey guys, how are you doing? I'm getting ready to go to see the author ML RIO tonight. I'm super excited and I'm going to the post office first to drop off a few packages and then I'm going to take the bus to Central. I just got ready and going to go now. So commute to Thankyou.
For our favourite author of the season, ML RIO.
Thank you. Because I will fall off the chair if I attempt to pick that up subtly.
That is, yes. Good plan, I surely would have done that too.
Hi, thank you all for joining us. Mel and ML RIO has already been introduced. The author of If We Were Villans, who is very kindly over here to celebrate the 5th anniversary edition, which has just come out.
Oh, that's fabulous. I need one of those.
We'll pinch it on the way out. So, welcome back to London.
Thank you.
It's been a while, I believe. So you originally studied at King's College London and Shakespeare.
You know, I came here and I did get to be surrounded by all of these other students who were sort of equally obsessed with Shakespeare. And one thing that people have often said to me is, this is so unrealistic. Nobody talks like this. Nobody speaks to each other in Shakespeare quotes. Yes, they do. If you find the right group of people, yes, they do. So my classmates were very much like that. We were so steeped in it that was kind of a second language that we spoke to each other. And it was just really nice to have that proof of, oh, I haven't just completely hallucinated this. This is a dynamic that does exist, because I've got my, hold on, got my microphone cord stuck in my bracelet. Off to a good start. That was something I'd experienced downstairs in our house, which was really just like a corner of the living room that had bookshelves. I was always reading kind of ahead of my level just because that was something I took to naturally. And I found a copy of all plays, The Comedy of Errors, which is not Shakespeare's best play and not one that people read super often. It was just an old book, and it was pretty and it was interesting, and it had that like magical, it distinguishes a campus novel as opposed to a novel that just happens to take place near a campus or near a university, because you get a lot of that because writers tend to be very academic bookish people. This sort of goes back to what I was saying about the setting really being a character in the novel, and I think that's really what it is the fact of the campus culture really influencing the plot and the way that it moves. You know, none of what happens in this book would happen without that incredibly tense pressure of a highly competitive academic environment. So for me, I guess that's what I would say is, you know, I wrote this book in 2014, which is a long time ago now. And dark academia was not a thing in 2014. You could not buy a dark academia themed candle on Instagram in the year of our Lord 2014. So for me, it's been really interesting to sort of get grandfathered into this genre. I think it started seeing a lot of popularity and a lot of, big upswing in sales, especially during the pandemic. Me and my agent going, what in the hell is happening with these numbers? This is so confusing. Because for, the first 3 years after this book came out, nobody really took much notice of it. It was selling in a very modest way. Definitely in the States, it was hardly selling at all. And here it was, kind of doing some respectable numbers, but nothing like it's been doing recently. And I think partly what happened is just, everybody got really sick of being on their screens all day. We were all going a little bit insane in the early parts of the pandemic, and everybody started reading more. So I think all book sales went up. But the other thing that I think happened with this genre in particular, students, and particularly nerdy, bookish students who are exactly the audience for this book, who were all looking forward to going off to school or looking forward to going back to school, didn't get to do that, and sought out campus novels as kind of a vicarious version of that experience. And they went looking for campus novels, and Villans just was already there. So I just sort of got to ride that wave. Lucky me.
And I wondered, or I was curious, is that a style or a kind of interest that will be following through with the rest of your work? Would we maybe see the characters from Villans popping up a la Donna Tartt as side characters in other books, or?
Oh, I find that kind of self-reference very cheesy. So that's probably not something I would do. I'm not a writer who does series things. I'm not really interested in doing a sequel. I wrote the end of this book the way I did very deliberately, and I don't think it needs those questions answered, and I think it would actually really weaken the story to answer those questions. Books are, the books that I really love are the ones that make me think and kind of demand some interpretation on the reader's part, and demand careful reading and hold up to a second reading or a third reading, because there's detail there that you didn't catch the first time, or once you know how it ends, it changes how you go back and read it from the beginning. So I'm pretty happy to let this book end where it ends. As for things in the future, gosh, I have no idea. I've definitely kind of taken a step away from the genre just because, my PhD has been slowly killing me for the last 6 years. So once that's done, maybe I'll be able to kind of find changed over time.
Oh, okay.
So when I say that it's an open ending, it's also an open ending for me. I think that there's a lot of different ways it could go.
Has it always been an open ending for you, or did you feel that you knew where it was at one point? And
I knew that I always wanted to leave it open. Sorry, spoiler alert, I probably should have said that 5 minutes ago. I always knew that I wanted to leave it open, and that actually also goes back to Shakespeare, because one of the reasons I think that we still perform Shakespeare plays 400 years later, and one of the reasons that people are still doing Hamlet and everything else, is that he does leave a lot of those blank spaces. He does leave a lot of open questions, and that is so essential to me, to the experience of reading Shakespeare, that was a necessary part of the fabric of this book. And again, it's about gray areas and liminal spaces, and to put a neat little tie it up with a bow at the end would feel like sort of a lie to the rest of the book. And I don't think that would have been satisfying.
It's interesting.
Love on the cover is the title. And we actually didn't know if they were going to let us keep that title. The publishers are kind of notorious for hating the titles that authors pick. So we had a whole list of alternative titles, but I was really pretty set on this one. And where it came from is, many of you have probably picked up that it's a line from Lear. It's a line from Edmund has a speech where he says, "As if we were villains on necessity, fools by heavenly compulsion." On and on. I used to have that speech memorized. I don't anymore. But the tenor of the speech is, we like to blame all of our worst behavior on things outside of ourselves. We blame it on the stars. We blame it on when we were born. We blame it on fate. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
perhaps be on the right page to be a bit more kind of flexible about like what's your experience. And again, we've had that doing hospitality.
Honestly, it got to a point where I couldn't keep up with it anymore. It got to be sort of overwhelming, and the demand was really just more than I could handle, and it was just time to kind of let it go. Especially because during the pandemic, I realized I hadn't posted anything else there, and I was like, I think it's time to just let it die. Yeah.
You might say that's a less valid experience, but if you go through kind of those they do.
Gosh, guys, I got my book signed by the author. I'm so happy with it. It was really good. I just made a new friend, and the night is going wonderful. And, the next author I'm going to meet tomorrow is Wallace Shawn. He's the actor from The Princess Bride. And then I'm going to see the American poet Savannah Brown. So 3 authors that I get to see this week, which is super exciting. Oh, I want to show you guys my books. Wait, I can't see. Here is it for my sister. And then this one, my copy. So exciting. Today was like such a fun day because I think going to these events is like a wonderful experience because you can make new friends, you network with people, and it just feels like a bit more of a community because you can feel like really alone as a reader if you don't make friends. It's super fun, super wonderful. I'm so happy I got to meet the author, and now I'm super ecstatic to read the book. I'm gonna start to read it now, super excited. I'm gonna send the other copy to my sister in Las Vegas. I'm sure she'll love it. I saw this girl, she had literally the same bag as me, so either she watches Dakota Warren, she mentioned, she was right behind me, she mentioned Jack Edwards, so it's just fun to like be around people who you know from the internet. But now I'm at the National Gallery. It looks like they have a few things going on. The stones that the event took place. Really fun, really enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really enjoyed this journey. It was so fun.